Hey guys, so in order to find the resultant here, I'm just going to put my vectors head to tail. So notice that when you line them up, it becomes like a really long arrow like this. That's your resultant. So how you figure that out is you're just going to add them up. When they're in the same direction, you can just add them. Same thing with number 3. Notice how they're both pointing down. So they're just going to be one very long arrow like that. So let's go ahead and just add those out. 3.6 plus 4.41 is going to give you something like 8 meters. Number 1, that's going to give you about 10 meters. Notice that in number 2, they're in opposite directions. So that's why I gave the 4 a negative. If I was to draw them head to tail, it would look like that. And my resultant would look something like that. Okay, when you have a right angles, you want to draw the box to know how far your resultant can go. So that way you don't go too far down or too far to the left. In this case, our table has some zeros because we have vectors that don't have, like A doesn't have an angle, it's just flat. And B just points straight down, but it's not sideways. So I do Pythagorean theorem to get the resultant R, and then inverse tangent to get that angle labeled in pink. And my direction is going to be south of west, because I'm below the west direction. Okay, let's look at number 5. This was the one that we saw in class. I'm going to get the same answer that they did. Notice that it's going up and to the right. So my components have to be up and right. I want to figure out what that angle is on top, just because I don't want to confuse it with vector B. So the green angle, I got that by doing 90 degrees minus 34.4, because I'm making a 90 degree vector. Okay, and once I label my angle, then I can tell which side is opposite, which side is adjacent, and then I know which number is going to belong to either sine or cosine. And once I can assign a value to the vector, then I can put it on my table, which one is horizontal and which one is vertical. Notice that in vector B, there's no vertical component because it's just sideways. And since everything is up and to the right, they're all positive values. So you can just assign all positive values. Pythagorean theorem will get you the hypotenuse value. And don't forget to square root at the end. And in order to do inverse tangent, let me just erase everything here so that we can just look at it clean. And let me draw a parallelogram and my resultant. So here's my parallelogram and my resultant going across like that. So then the 3.33 is the opposite side and 9.51 is my adjacent side. So now I know which numbers to plug into my inverse tangent. So that's going to give me 19.30 degrees north of east. In number 6, I'm going to do something similar. I'm just going to draw the resultant first. So I drew a parallelogram. My resultant is going to be south of east. Now I'm going to erase and look at each vector by itself. So first I'm going to break up A. So I have my opposite and adjacent side. I am using the 51.7 degrees. And once I calculate those values, I'm going to put some arrows to see, like, are they going up to the right? So they're both positive values. Now I'm going to look at vector B. I notice I have to the right and down. So one of those numbers is going to be negative. Calculating. Okay, so the side that's the opposite side is going to be the negative value. So that's why I got negative 6.1. And my calculator is going to give me positive values, but I'm going to put the negative in later after I look at the arrow to see if it's up or down. Okay, Pythagorean theorem to get my final hypotenuse value. Don't forget to square at the end. Now to get my angle, inverse tangent, I'm going to draw my resultant again. Okay, so my opposite's 1.85, my adjacent 6.2. So that way I know which angle I'm looking at. So 16.6 south of east. So number 7, here's my resultant. Looks like it's south of west. Okay, now I'm going to erase that, and I'm going to look just at each vector by itself. So this is the A vector by itself. My angle is going to be 28.3. I've identified my opposite and adjacent sides. And then I'm going to add some arrows so that I can know which side is, which number is going to get a negative. Anything to the left is going to get a negative. That's why it's a negative 7.23. Now I'm going to focus on vector B. Notice that the opposite side was down. So that means that the op is going to get a negative value. So that's going to be the 5.92 because it was pointing down. Okay, now I'm just going to combine like terms, x with x, y with y, and finally combine both of those with Pythagorean theorem. And don't forget to square root at the end. Now I got to get my angle, so I'm going to draw my resultant again. That way I can identify, like, this is my angle, that's opposite, that's adjacent. The opposite is the vertical one, so I put a little O there. So it's 4.5 meters, 26.7 south of west. Okay, for number 8, you just need to use a ruler, so you can just measure them out. I know that measuring on my computer is not going to work out, but I can help you with the positive and negatives. Okay, anything down is a negative, anything to the left is a negative. My resultant is the orange arrow, down and to the right. That direction is going to be south of east.